must go to the banks of the ocean, yeah, where the walls rise above the Zuyder Zee. Long ago, I used to be a young man, and dear Margaret remembers that from me.
I just want to say how glad we are to have Michael Smith here. He came that first season. It was a total 100% connection. It helped establish what Tales from the Tavern was all about. The CD, which was chosen CD of the Year on many NPR outlets across the country, really helped put us on the map. We consider him a master of his craft, and we are thrilled and honored to present Michael Smith at Tales from the Tavern.
Sister Clarissa could have been on the stage, but Jesus came over and told her he'd rather she taught the 5th grade. Sister Clarissa is engaged to our Lord. He has promised to take her to heaven. He never goes back on his word. Sister Clarissa is 11 feet tall. Her rosary hangs and it clatters and it clangs when she moves down the hall. She writes, Sister Clarissa, up high on the board. The chalk won't dare squeak. The children sit meekly without a word. Somehow you know summer's over. Who made me? God made me to know Him, to love Him, to serve Him in this world, and to be happy with Him forever. Sister Clarissa believes in free will, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, and a quiet fire drill. When she hugs you too tight, and she gives you a star on your forehead. That's for spelling Connecticut right. Who made me? God made me to know Him, to love Him, to serve Him in this world, and to be happy with Him forever. Many years later, on a memory walk through the old wooden doors, down the same corridors, dusted with years of chalk, see Sister Clarissa, and she looks just the same. And the sound of her rosary still brings a chill as she remembers your name. And the years disappear as though they've never been, and you hear yourself saying, yes sister, no sister, like you were 10. And you're so glad to see that she's still the same way, and to tell her you love her before she goes over to her fiancé, who made me, God made me, to know him, to love him, to serve him in this world, and to be happy with him forever. And to be happy with him forever. Let me sing you the ballad of Elizabeth Dark. I've been working on it since the time we hung out at this coffee house in Rogers Park like two kids at a 5 and dime. She would read Dostoevsky by the yellow moon that hung like an orange in the tree, while I worked on the words to the mystery tune of Elizabeth Dark and me. This was back in the days of the folk music craze, Lenny and poetry and jazz, cats and chicks snapping their fingers to Lord Buckley doing the Naz, Kierkegaard, Ginsberg, Sartre and free love, parties to cover the rent. We all wanted to be existentialists. None of us knew what the hell it meant. Now I take the L to Loyola, walk along the Sheridan Sand, where the waves were breaking over the jetty, where the wind is like an icy hand. Theodore says the criminal always returns to the scene of the crime. Maybe I'll see Elizabeth Day one more time. Her hair was long and flowing, a river of zen down her back. We had spaghetti with Ferlinghetti and wine with Jack Kerouac. Things were real cool. One day I came home from school and Elizabeth Dark wasn't there. No river of ravens and hair, no dark at the top of the stairs. Now I take the L to Loyola, walk along the Sheridan Sand, where the waves are breaking over the jetty, where the wind is like an icy hand. Theodore says the criminal always returns to the scene of the crime. Maybe I'll see Elizabeth D one more time. I get out my old bongos, reminisce about making the scene, read my Tarot, tell my fortune from grounds in a beat-up espresso machine. I'm a beatnik lost in the future, like a Model T Ford out in space, still as in love with Elizabeth Dark as the first time I saw her face. Now I take the L to Loyola, walk along the Sheridan Sand, where the waves are breaking over the jetty, where the wind is like an icy hand. Theodore says the criminal always returns to the scene of the crime. Maybe I'll see Elizabeth D one more time. Maybe I'll see Elizabeth D one more time. One more time.
I went to New York because everybody was going to New York. I was 21 or 22. I can't remember how old I was, but I lived at the Hotel Earl, which is right in Washington Square. It was just after Dylan, and the people I met were Felix Populardi, who later on played bass for Mountain, and he was our musical. I was in a duet, and he was our musical guide. And I worked with a bunch with John Sebastian. I got so annoyed at John Sebastian because I thought he was a harmonica player. And one day he picked up the guitar and played 3 times better than I could ever imagine. Freddie Neal, who I just worshipped Freddie Neal. I worked with Richie Pryor a bunch. We were on double bills. I worked with Lou Gossett, who was in a duet with Felix Populardi, and that was very interesting. The fact that they were an interracial at the time, interracial act was a big deal. Richie Havens, I got to be acquaintances with Richie Havens, and people that were quite extraordinarily talented for one reason or another. John Biner, who was a very funny comedian. I worked with him. Anyway, we did about 2 or 3 months in the Village, and we weren't very good. The guy and I worked, he had a very nice tenor voice, but we were the kind of act where we wore the same clothes. You know, that was very, very square. We did very well when we would play the east coast of Florida, you know what I mean? The bars and the motels and the hotels and but we were just corny. And so everybody in the Village was kind of like, okay, very nice, next, you know, it was like that. And there were people all around us who were honest. We were premature in going there, and then I was in various acts that essentially turned out to be lounge acts, and by that I mean we were hoping to please people, and whatever we could do to please people, we'd do it. And when we would see people who didn't do that, catering to the crowd, we did not, I mean I didn't and he didn't understand. I was told that if you're an entertainer, everybody's supposed to like you.
Right.
And when I first discovered that, that wasn't necessarily true. It was late on. It took me a long time to understand, and again, I am only gradually understanding that I need to be myself.
One day a beautiful princess was walking on the bog, on a slab of peat. Who should she meet? Fred the talking frog. Well, the top of the morning tea, alas, hello, hello, cries he. I'd be glad, you know, if you'd stop 'em all and listen close to me. See, I've been bewitched, and I'm needing a royal miss, such as your lovely self, to give this ugly mug a kiss. Such a metamorphosis will then ensue, I'll tell you true, for I'm really a farmer prince, and I'll straightway they marry you. To me rightful Johnny go darum, higgledy-piggledy down and around to me high-low. Harem and Scarron, riding the white horse to Quenbury town. To me toady, Truman Capote, driving the Sligo with Molly O'Shea, to dance by the sea with a right cup of tea on a bleary Sunday morning. Well, I heard the song and the dance before, says the princess, it's all fine, but if it's a kiss you're after, the chances you'll have to stand in line. There's frogs outside me father's castle, frogs in the royal hall, frogs is climbing up the chimney, frogs is bouncing off the wall, and frogs is floating on the moat and up the stairs and on the shelf. If I had to kiss every one of us, Jesus, I'd have no time to myself. Ah, let's make it swift, laddie, lately falls the hour, and I'm due back home from me evening shift of pining in the tower. To me rightful Johnny go darum, higgledy-piggledy down and around to me high-low. Harem and Scarron, riding the white horse to Quenbury town. To me toady, Truman Capote, Faith and Bigarret's Maureen O'Hara, driving the Sligo with Molly O'Shea, to dance by the sea with a right cup of tea on a bleary Sunday morning. Well, she's just about to kiss him when Mrs. Frog come hopping by, crying, Fred, you're late for supper. Come in, dear, was his reply. You mean he's not bewitched? The princess is just odd, says Mrs. Frog. And into kissing princesses he meets upon the bog. And oh, I love me, Fred, I fear he chafes at family ties. I'd invite you home for supper, me dear, but we only have 2 flies. Thank God you didn't kiss him, this was your lucky day. Till I kissed Fred I was a princess too, that's how I got this way. To me rightful Johnny go darum, higgledy-piggledy down and around high-low. Harem and Scarron, riding the white horse to Quenbury town. To me toady, Truman Capote, Faith and Bigarret's Maureen O'Hara, hark to the herald, it's Barry Fitzgerald, we're driving the Sligo with Molly O'Shea, to dance by the sea with a Guinness and me while it's beery Sunday morning. To me toady, Truman Capote, Faith and Bigarret's Maureen O'Hara, hark to the herald, it's Barry Fitzgerald, all in a Volkswagen with Victor McLaughlin, we're driving the Sligo with Molly O'Shea, to dance by the sea with an LSD Timothy Leary Sunday morning. Thank you. My friend Tom Dundee, you sure got the rhythm, don't he? When I have to follow Tom, get the feeling like I'm gonna bomb, 'cause he looks like he's 33. My friend Tom Dundee, that Tom, he sure got the rhythm. Sure got the rhythm. That Tom Dundee, he sure got the rhythm, don't he? Got a letter from my sister Pat. You gotta get yourself a cowboy hat. Phone call from my brother Peter, please send me some of Tom's CDs. I love you, Michael, says my mom. Love you more if you were more like Tom. That Tom sure got the rhythm. Sure got the rhythm. That Tom Dundee, he sure got the rhythm, don't he? That Tom, he sure got the rhythm. Sure got the rhythm. That Tom Dundee, he sure got the rhythm, don't he? Telegram from my sister Kate. Why must Tom live so out of state? Stop. Email from my sister Marge, wondering if Tom's at large. Text message from my brother Lee. You know Tom Dundee, OMG, he sure got the rhythm. Sure got the rhythm. That Tom Dundee, he sure got the rhythm, don't he? Someday too soon for me, I'll have a gig in the obituary, looking young and debonair, maybe a shot where I still have my hair. Folks whispering at the cemetery, they're saying he knew Tom Dundee. That Tom sure got the rhythm, sure got the rhythm. That Tom Dundee, he sure got the rhythm, don't he? That Tom, he sure got the rhythm, sure got the rhythm. That Tom Dundee, he sure got the rhythm, don't he?
I was kind of pissed that I didn't see it earlier. You know, I was kind of I saw that there was a way of being a musician that I had missed, and it took me a long time. And I went through periods where I kind of had to. I was almost bitchy about it. You know, I'd walk off stages if people didn't listen.
Right.
That kind of thing. You know, I did that regularly. You know, I'd say, I quit. You're not listening. You're not listening well enough. You know, you're not getting me. Fuck you. And I'd leave. I'd leave in the middle of the gig. I'd leave in the middle of the set. You know, I did this rather regularly up till the time I was about 35. And then when I was about 35, I said to myself, okay, you've got this attitude that the audience isn't necessarily going to get it, and you get pissed. Why are you getting pissed? Relax. And at that point, then I started doing things the way I felt like doing, and with less, how do I put it, hostility.
A rabbi goes into a bar, and he's got a frog on his shoulder. Bartender says, "Where'd you get that?" And the frog says, "Brooklyn, there's hundreds of them." An Irishman is looking for a parking space. He's been driving around a long time. He says, dear God, get me a damn parking space. I'm so tired of driving. Give me a parking space and I'll quit drinking and I'll quit chasing the ladies. Oh, never mind, I found one. All of the riverboat gamblers are losing their shirts. All of the brave Union soldier boys sleep in the dirt. Well, you know and I know there never was reason to hurt. When all of our lives were entwined to begin with here in Spoon River. All of the calico dresses, the gingham and lace, are up in the attic with grandfather's Derringer case. There's words whispered down in the parlor, a shadowy face. The morning is heavy with one more beginning here in Spoon River. Come to the dance, Mary Perkins, I like you right well. The Union is preserved if you listen, you hear all the bells, bells, bells. There must be a heaven. God knows I've seen mostly hell. My rig is outside, coming right through the morning here in Spoon River. All of the riverboat gamblers are losing their shirts. All of the brave Union soldier boys sleep in the dirt. But you know and I know there never was reason to hurt. When all of our lives were entwined to begin with here in Spoon River. All of our lives were entwined to begin with here in Spoon River. Thank you very much.
What happened around the time I was 40 was I had worked with this group and worked with that group, and I'd done some recordings, and I'd done been in situations where, you know, it was like, well, we'll pay you X amount of dollars per week to rehearse and record, and, you know, they had a lot of money, and they were shooting for something, and they bought us. They bought me and paid me to write songs for a group, and I did this for a couple of years. They paid me really, really good, and a lot of cocaine. And at the end of that time, I had a bunch of songs that I couldn't use. And of course, the record didn't go anywhere, and there I was. So there was just a lot of foolishness attached with trying to be popular, which I think for me was just a bad move. Just a bad move, and so I got a straight job. And when I got a straight job, I didn't have to try to be popular anymore. I had a little job. I had a little clerk job with Time Magazine. And
how long did that last?
About 8 years. It was very unpleasant. And I drank every day. I mean, I drink every day now, but I drank every day. And I was not a happy person. But now I feel like, you know, I'm starting to not take it personally. I'm starting to not see much connection between the money I make and the value of what I make. You know, I understand that that is the normal position of most people. Well, the value of what you make is reflected in your bread, and if it's not, you're supposed to be pissed off. And certainly, I was pissed off. I was annoyed. Well, I'm cooler than this. I should be making more money. Now I'm like, very little. I see very little connection between those two things anymore, and I'm making a living. You know, I mean, I think for a long time I was definitely on the edge, and now I get employed enough, you know, just enough that the only person I owe money to is the government. You know, and I don't owe money to the government. I'll be happy to owe money to the government for the rest of my life because it's not real. Money's not real.
There's a panther in Michigan. Don't that make your Halloween? Panther in Michigan, although he's seldom seen, and he's following the water and the ways of the Indian, crossing the border to Indiana. There's an awful lot of cover down along the Raisin River. We'd set up on the one side, he'd show up on the other. I know people used to wonder why we couldn't catch the panther. There's an awful lot of cover down along the Raisin River. When a farmer in Manchester called me, I was there in minutes, following a trail of feathers through the high grass when he screamed. 34 years in law enforcement and I'd never been so scared. Could see where he was going by the way the grass was moving. There's a panther in Michigan. Don't that make your Halloween? Panther in Michigan, although he's seldom seen, and he's following the water and the ways of the Indian, crossing the border to Indiana. Say that they are lazy hunters and they will take a prey that's wounded over one that's healthy, and he might mistake some child playing in his sandbox for some kind of wounded critter down along the Raisin River. Test drivers saw the panther at the Chrysler Proving Grounds. It was during hunting season. He was out there on the track cause he knew if he went in there he'd be safe from hunters. He's an uncanny animal. There's a panther in Michigan. Don't that make your Halloween? Panther in Michigan. Although he's seldom seen, and he is following the water and the ways of the Indian, crossing the border to Indiana.
Then what happened was I got this gig where Frank Galati, who was a writer and actor who works with Steppenwolf's heavy theatrical troupe in Chicago.
Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago.
Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago, excuse me, I shouldn't say it because the other there's a group. Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago, this is Gary Sinise and Malkovich and heavy people. And they have a troupe of actors and they do their thing, and they were going to do an adaptation of The Grapes of Wrath. And Frank saw me work. He asked me if I wanted to do this, or play music, be on the stage, play music, be the kind of the musical background for this drama. And I said, oh, yeah, to say the least. And we wound up going to, we were in La Jolla for a couple of months, we were in Chicago for a couple of months, we were in London, and we went to New York, and we won the Tony for Best Play in 1990. And suddenly I was, after 2 years of working with these folks, I was working with pros, and I saw how pros were. You know, there's just a level of happiness when people are very, very good. They are happy for you when you're good, and they don't lean on you when you're bad. I don't know how to put it otherwise than that. But it was very interesting to work with these people. They gave me a lightheartedness about working. I mean, a better way of putting it is they made me industrious, or they showed me how industriousness worked. I was working a gig and I saw in the paper,
Roy Rogers in person coming to this opening of the Roy Rogers roast beef sandwich place. It was during the day. I rushed on down. And there they had loudspeakers outside playing Happy Trails to You, you know. And there he was, Roy. He was all dressed in the cowboy outfit. Looked beautiful. He looked great. Tall, you know, and tan. And, no, wait, but that's the girl from Ipanema. But anyway, it was definitely, it looked really cool. And he had the guns and everything. And he had all these bodyguards around him. They were dressed like cowboys, but you could tell they weren't really cowboys because they were Italian. You want to stand back from Roy a little bit here, you know. So I got in line to shake hands with Roy, and there was all these little kids. The parents were like standing over the side trying to be blasé, you know, but I got in line. I was like 21 at the time, and I was thrilled to be there, you know, and these little kids. And I get up to him, and he's just the sun is setting behind him. It was really a very big moment for me to actually shake hands with Roy. And I'm shaking hands with him, and I thought, I could have a conversation with him. I could have a little conversation that I can talk about to my grandchildren. So I said, how come your movies aren't on television? Because at that time they were not. I'll never forget what Roy said to me. He said, "Glad to see you." So this is a tune I wrote for Roy, which has a part for audience part, and it sounds really cool when people do it. So here's your first note. Ooh. It's like this. Ooh. Breathe. Ooh. And back up. Ooh. Try it. Great, okay, keep it up. I used to have a Palomino when I lived in the Golden West, and we would ride the hills of Texas. That was a time I love the best. Great, keep it up. I used to have a silver saddle, silver spurs from Mexico, and when we would ride through the silver sagebrush, yeah, I would sing to my Palomino. Our chorus goes like this. Palomino, Palomine. Palomino, Palomine. Sure has been a long Palomino, Palomine. Palomino, Palomine, Palomino, Palomine. Sure, it's been a long time. Palomino, Palomine. Yes, I wrote it. I wrote that. Here we go. Palomino, Palomine. Palomino, Palomine. Palomino, Palomine. Great. Sure has been a long time. Palomino, Palomine. Great, here come the oohs. Through the rain and the windy weather, he was my best pal, it seemed. streets of Newark together. Or was it only in my dreams? I sure do miss old Dale and old Gabby, the double R bar and those sweet melodies. And when we die, we will go to heaven. Roy and Dale, the sons of the pioneers, Palomino, 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 old buddy. Palomino, Palomino. When we die, we'll go to heaven. When we die, we'll go to heaven. Palomino, Palomino, Palomino. Roy and Dale and Gabby are sitting around the campfire. Gabby says, "You know, Ryan, them Indian drums, they sound kind of strange tonight." Roy says, "Yeah, they do." And a voice from the distance says, "It's not our regular drummer." That's a musician joke. The level of vivacity, is that the word? Or the level of excitingness that comes, excitement that comes from this kind of crowd. It's on a different plane.
They're so accepting. They're really accepting, those people, and that really opens up your head. I mean, it's a one forgets what an accepting audience will do, you know, or will be, and it's very emotional. Although I don't show it, I think in some way it's really important.
But I feel very grateful to the situation of Tales of the Tavern itself. Tales of the Tavern is like a little cocoon where you can go and you can go, okay, it's okay for me to be me. I mean, I feel, I can't tell you a freer circumstance.
I see your old girlfriend Melanie made the Newark Star Ledger the other day. I see your old college girlfriend Melanie Maguire made the front page of the Newark Star Ledger the other day. Shot her husband Bill Maguire, chopped him up, dropped him into Chesapeake Bay. Can't you see old Melanie driving down to Chesapeake, dropping Bill off near and far? Can't you see old Melanie driving down to Accokeek, dropping Bill off near and far? Kinda like Lizzie Borden, isn't it? If Lizzie Borden had a car. Hey, Melanie Maguire, what you doing down there with your 3 suitcases full of Bill? Hey, Melanie Maguire, what you doing down there with your 3 suitcases full of Bill? Got him demonstrating Samsonite, quite against his will. Aren't you glad that you didn't marry Melanie? Only to dwell in 3 valises by the sea. Aren't you glad that you didn't marry Melanie? Only to dwell in 3 valises by the sea. Get a gig at a coffee house, singing help in 3-part harmony. You drive down to Accokeek, you better stay in the passing lane. You drive down to Accokeek to see your friend Grace, you better race there in the passing lane. They say that Bill Maguire's hitchhiking tonight. 3 suitcases in the pouring rain. He wants to get himself together, get himself together, get himself together again. Get himself together, get himself together, get himself together again. Get himself together, get himself together, get himself together again.
I look at, there's certain songs of mine, I go, I can't believe I wrote this tune.
Such as?
Dutchman. I can't believe I wrote the Dutchman.
How
I can't
old were
believe I
you when
didn't
you wrote
script
the
28. The same year I wrote Spoon River. And there's another one I think, my God, I can't believe I wrote this tune. But I wrote the Dutchman, and the Dutchman is a good little song that will last. And it's made well,
Yeah.
And similarly, Spoon River, it's made well,
And it will last.
and it will last, I'll be dead, and they'll still sing that song.
Yep.
It is a blessing that now that I'm 68, I have a few songs that I don't doubt. When you really believe something, then nobody can do anything to it that will disturb your opinion. Okay, and that takes. I have had my opinions tossed and borne on waves of the sea, and I've been foolish a bunch of times, and now I know what I believe. What I believe is this works, this song works, this song works, this song works. I don't care if Dave Clark, or I'm sorry, not Dave Clark. What was it? Dick Clark thinks it's a hit. I don't care if Hamlet Erdogan thinks it's a hit. It's way beyond that now, and that's something to do with because you're going to die. You're going to die. You're going, fuck it. What's real here? Yeah. What's real? What are people going to think? And even other people don't matter at a certain point because you're the one that dies. So what matters is you. What matters is what you think. I'm going to do a few more tunes. I'm going to do 2 more tunes, and then I'm going to do 2 encores. I feel like I've done so well with you all that I think 2 encores is reasonable, and I used to leave the stage, and depend on people's, but I don't do that anymore. It's so iffy. And but before I do my last 2 tunes and my encores, I would like to thank you for being a wonderful audience. It's just a pleasure to play to people who are listening so intently, and it certainly makes me discover how much I need to rehearse. Yep. I used to play the guitar a lot more than when I first started. I played the guitar 6-8 hours a day. I don't do that anymore. But I did at one time play the guitar 6-8 hours a day. And when I first started playing the guitar, if you played the guitar,
You know, you pretty much did this. No. No. And I would do this, as I say, 6 to 8 hours a day, and my dad would come to my bedroom door and he'd give me this look that only my dad would give me, which I now see rather frequently in the mirror. Except older. And he'd go, "Michael, pal, give it a drink." I brought my father with me. I hope that you don't mind. I couldn't find it in me to make him stay behind. Tonight, the snow has fallen. Trees are white and old. Their heavy branches bending. Can we come in from the cold? I brought my father with me. Though it's been many years since he'd go down to Dolan's for a shot and a couple of beers. When he'd take me with him and he would buy me a Coke, surely made my day. Now I take my father with me. Turnabout's fair play. Car trips to Pennsylvania, when all of us would sing, and he sang bells of St. Mary's, and he sounded just like Bing. Summer days down at the shore, remembering how he would bless himself with foam before he'd dive into the sea. There are some ways I'm just like him, some ways he was just like me. Sometimes when the mirror's dim, his face is clear to see. Tonight, the winds of heaven blow the stars across the sky. I brought my father with me. I couldn't say goodbye. Tonight the winds of heaven blow the stars across the sky. I brought my father with me. I couldn't say goodbye.
Thank you. My father died when I was 17 and he committed suicide. And so when you're, the guy that you kind of pattern yourself after, you're the oldest son, and does that kind of thing, there's just a lot of trauma connected with that, a lot of travail. That, I gotta say, it's done. You're never gonna get rid of that.
What a great audience you are, and thank you for being a wonderful. Thank you for being a wonderful, wonderful audience. I'll give you a little background on this tune. I live in Chicago. My wife and I live in Chicago. We just moved. We lived in the same apartment for 30 years. 30 years. So as you can imagine, the neighborhood around us changed remarkably in that 30 years. And when we started out in this neighborhood, lovely neighborhood in Lincoln Park, and it was Germans, old German people. Everybody had babushkas, and we were the youngest people in the neighborhood. And then as time went by, less babushkas, and I always felt like I should get one, you know what I mean, to kind of pull up the slack. But everybody got younger, and got the cell phones, and they got the SUVs, and they got the big dogs. And suddenly we were the oldest people in the neighborhood, and there were no more old Germans left, except for right down the street from us, which was an old German bakery. It had been there, brick building had been there since 1939. I don't know where they got these old people to run this, but they had a supply of old German people that would go in there, And when you would buy something, it was charming, because you go in there, and the lady would go, when you left the bakery, she'd always go, "Enjoy your goodies." Which, it's nice. It's nice. I took it as a kind of a life philosophy, actually. I had a little satori when she would say that. And I would go out the door sometimes, and I would wait. I would go out slowly with my apple turnover or whatever. One time I went out and I was getting this apple turnover, and the lady said, "Do you want a bag?" I said, "Nah, I had a New York Times. Just put it in the New York Times." I folded it up. I went home and I opened the New York Times on the kitchen table, and there was the turnover, and my wife said, "Where did that come from?" And I said, "I have no idea." And she said, "An immaculate confection." Anyway, one time I'm in this bakery, and I'm standing behind this lady, and this lady's like 25, and she's got like a suit, and she's got a laptop, and she's got beeper, and phone, and she says to this old German baker, "What are my bread options?" And I'm behind her, and I'm going like, "Michael, this is God's way of making it easier for you to die." I said it to myself in my Jackie Mason voice. I actually have an inner voice that speaks to me now that sounds like Jackie Mason. I don't know what it is. I think as I was raised Irish Catholic, and born Irish Catholic, raised Irish Catholic. But as I've gotten older, I've gotten more Jewish. That's why I think people actually leaving the Catholic Church, they're all becoming Jewish, and that's what I think. I was working some gigs down by LA, and I was driving along in the freeway, and this guy goes past, and SUV's got a big sign in the back that says, "Jesus is God." And I'm looking at the sign, and my Jackie Mason voice inside of me goes, "Well, maybe." And maybe not. I mean, he's a nice guy. I'm sure he's a nice guy. Eric Clapton, on the other hand, you know. Anyway, if God could play the guitar, that would be the whole thing. Anyway, the song that came out of this encounter at the bakery was this. So your dealer, man, Steve, man, moves to Cleveland, man, and you're trusting that it must have been fate. After all, by now, most of your best friends are either busted or straight or dead from smoking or drinking. And you're thinking, man, now that you're a senior, oh man, you want to wean yourself from the wicked weed. Well, that's all real nice, but here is some advice I do believe that you are going to need. Rip Van Winkle, while you were sleeping there, folks were taking to keeping their freak flags furled. Yeah, the world been evolving at a pretty fair clip since 1968. Used to be slow and groovy and hip, now it's proceeding at a faster rate, accelerating, and I'd like to set you straight. My friend and fellow hippie here is hoping that you'll hear and that you'll heed. Think you're gonna find that life gets pretty damn zippy when you quit doing weed. Life gets pretty zippy when you quit doing weed. Maine to Mississippi, things is picking up speed. New York to California, don't you say I didn't warn you. Atlantic to Pacific, let me get specific. Life becomes a super highway and you know you doesn't linger. You do less than 90, folks is passing, flashing you the finger. Seems to me that things are moving and grooving, now they're only moving. Yes indeed, life gets pretty zippy when you quit doing weed. Can you dig it? Dig what I mean? Let's dig it. Let me set the scene now. Sun zips up, sun zips down. Zippy little cloud zipping over Zippy Town. Over Palm Pilots, pagers, beepers, faxes and such. Folks in Zippy Town are down with keeping in touch, man. Barreling in SUVs, passing on the right. Zipping through the zippy days, zipping through the night. Zippity zip, they get the jobs and money. Zip, they have the kids. Zip, they end the coffin. Folks are zipping up the lids. Speaking of lids, man, life gets pretty zippy when you quit doing weed. Maine to Mississippi, things is picking up speed. Mexico City to Toronto, things is happening. We pronto way Pacific to Atlantic. Man, it's getting frantic. Life becomes a super highway. You know you dash and fidget. You do less than 90. Folks is passing, flashing you the digit. Seems to me that things are mild and lazy. Now they're wild and crazy. You'll concede. Life gets pretty zippy when you quit doing weed. Power mowers, leaf blowers, car alarms blasting so long. Janis Joplin, hello, Marilyn Manson. Folks zipping to get married on TV for fame and greed. Zipping down to the Bahamas, zipping back to Pop and Mama, boom boxes, weed whackers, air hammers, trucks going backwards. Everybody's under construction, steroids, liposuction, space station, satellites, taking pictures day and night, upgrades, power walking, your machine and mine talking gridlock, pre-approved. Bring that cell phone to the loop. Big Brother CNN News to drive you around the bend. Green catch up here right here, warming up the atmosphere with grandma's homemade apple pie, just been genetically modified by robot dogs on eBay who copyright your DNA. Laid back, hey Jack, come on, get real. This is straight life, this is a great life. Besides, you made the deal. I see you got enough left for one last toke. I'm happy for you, man. I hope it's real good smoke. While you put it in the pipe, you light it up, and as it glows, you hear Judy Collins singing. Who knows where the time goes? Rave on, Judy. Girl knows how to wail. Don't sing along, man. Too late, you exhale. Life is pretty zippy when you quit doing weed. Maine to Mississippi, things is picking up speed. Roman to Greek or Nova Scotian, man. Everything's in motion, man. Earth and hell and heaven. Better get your motor revving. Life becomes a super highway. Although you do your best, you find that folks is passing by you with an old familiar gesture. I like to think they're waving goodbye to the lava lamp, the Nehru jacket, love beads, strawberry rolling papers, bags of stem and seed. Once you were Jimi Hendrix experience, and now you're Kenny G. Life gets pretty zippy when you quit doing weed. Anybody asks you who wrote the song, boy, say it was Michael Peter Smith from Chicago, Illinois. Why in the world would the cat want to write a song about quitting boo? You give some guys a hit of acid, you never know what they're gonna do. What if I want to learn the tune and how the progression goes? Sorry, man, can't help you there. Different chords for different shows. But if you get the recording, take a tip from me before you put it in the player. Lick the CD. This song's called Zippy, I think it's pretty trippy, said Guy Kippy to Rodney Allen Rippy. Glippy, glop, glippy, nippy, noppy, nippy, yippee, yippee. You can bet your bippy as a little Richard Penniman said to DJ Alan Freed, as Igor Stravinsky said on Francais to Andre Gide, as Tano said to the Lone Ranger's favorite nephew, Dan Reed. Life plenty zippy, but not too weird.
I had to look at myself and say, where do I belong? Where do I belong musically? And this is a never-ending process, for sure. Now that I'm 76, I sort of got the idea. But I've been doing it since I was 16, and just distracted by glitter that is not gold, and you can make some really dopey mistakes, you know. And I made them all. I made every dopey mistake because you're learning, you know, and you don't know what you're doing yet, and you have to make the mistakes. My life has been a series of events where I learned how wrong I was before. I have learned from doing it myself where I was foolish, you know, and as I've said to people before, when I do it for myself, it works really good. When I try to do it for somebody else, it's shit. Now, how do I put this? I've done things for myself so long that people will accept me without asking me to change. People used to ask me to change all the time. That was the thing that happened to me. And I would buy that. No, you don't buy that. You become more yourself instead.
Okay, this tune was done by a bunch of different people. The first one to record it to any avail was Steve Goodman, who did a lovely version. A nice gentleman. I knew him pretty good. And then the tune got recorded by a few other people, and for me, most notably and most beautifully by a fellow named Liam Clancy. And he did a great job of it, and did it for 40 years. He sang this song. Here's the chorus.
Let us go to the banks of the ocean, where the walls rise above the Zuyder Zee. Long ago, I used to be a young man, and dear Margaret remembers that for me.
Want to try it?
Let us go to the banks of the ocean, beautiful, where the walls rise above the Zuyder Zee. Long ago, I used to be a young man, and dear Margaret remembers that for me. The Dutchman's not the kind of man to keep his thumb jammed in the dam that holds his dreams in. But that's a secret only Margaret knows. When Amsterdam is golden, in the morning Margaret brings him breakfast. She believes him. He thinks the tulips bloom beneath the snow. He's mad as he can be, but Margaret only sees that sometimes. Sometimes she sees her unborn children in his eyes. Let us go to the banks of the ocean, where the walls rise above the Zuyder Zee. Long ago, I used to be a young man, and dear Margaret remembers that for me. The Dutchman still wears wooden shoes, his cap and coat are patched with love that Margaret sewed in. Sometimes he thinks he's still in Rotterdam. He watches tugboats down canals and calls out to them when he thinks he knows the captain. Till Margaret comes to take him home again, through unforgiving streets that trip him though she holds his arm. Sometimes he thinks he's alone and he calls her name. Let us go to the banks of the ocean, yeah, where the walls rise above the Zuyder Zee. Long ago, I used to be a young man, and dear Margaret remembers that from me. The windmills were the winter end. She winds his muffler tighter, they sit in the kitchen. Some tea with whiskey keeps away the dew. He sees her for a moment, calls her name. She makes the bed of humming some old love song. She learned it when the tune was very new. He hums a line or two. They hum together in the night. The Dutchman falls asleep and Margaret blows the candle out. Let us go to the banks of the ocean, where the walls rise above the Zuyder Zee. Long ago, I used to be a young man, and in Margaret remembers that for me. Let us go to the banks of the ocean, where the walls rise above the Zuyder Zee. Long ago, I used to be a young man, and in Margaret remembers that for me.
Well, thank you for coming back.
What a
to
pleasure.
Tales.
What a
And
pleasure.
Once again, it's truly one of the things we cherish is our association with you.
Thank you, sir. Well, it is great to be here, and I gotta say, it's my best record ever.
When I was 16, all songs sounded like this. And that was fine with me. That fateful night, the train hit the car, killed my baby, broke my guitar. When I was worshiping in the church of my choice, I thought I heard my baby's voice, and she said, go on with your career. Don't worry about me, dear. I'm up here in teenage heaven with your guitar. What a pleasure. Please drive careful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.